He tolerated and cooperated with those who were unjust, ruthless, and tried to work against them. He tried to resurrect their fallen mentality, but very hard battle. Number 80, finalised the building of the Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Temple and installed the deities 1991 for Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's last founded 108th project in Orissa. And that 108th project, there's actually people working against Gurudeva. Not his disciples or followers, but outside of that. Outside of the Orissa preaching, working against Gurudeva. And Gurudeva said, finally they were kicked out, he said to me. And I said, did you kick me out, Gurudeva? He said, no, Gaur Nitai kicked them out. There was little Gaur Nitai deities. He said they made all the arrangements. And very quickly we installed the deities and finished the temple and installed the deities.
Well, was it local people making trouble?
Not local people, from outside of Orissa.
Outside of Orissa?
Yeah, outside of Orissa.
But not within ISKCON?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So he finished that temple and it was a big day for Gurudeva. It's not only a big day, he installed the deity of his Guru Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And that was a big thing for Gurudeva. He did the Adi in the heart. Remember that? Oh, you were there, right? We're all there. And then Gurudeva said, he said that when Gurudeva left in 1977 on the 14th of November, himself and all the disciples got together and he spoke, and one Madhiji put a hand up and she said, we'll never see Prabhupada again. And then when he installed the deities, that Madhiji was there and he said, Prabhupada's come back, Prabhupada's come back. And he said in that talk, he said that the deity, once the deity, the Vigraha is installed, it becomes a deity as not different to the deities on the altar. This is a deity. It's not different to the Acarya that we've installed that deity for. It's not some statue, he said. And there was 3 offerings a day for Prabhupada or more, and artis and everything. It was everything. They put him to sleep, they woke him up, did they? You know.
Where the Prabhupada next to his hut?
Next to his hut, yeah.
Oh, not the one in the temple.
Yeah, well, they did that as well, but that was in the temple. But this was separate. That was the deity installed in the heart, and that was important for Gurudeva, because that's where Prabhupada came. And Gurudeva said, when Prabhupada came, he said Prabhupada would go to bed, and he'd wake up very early, and Gurudeva said he would hear the click of the dictaphone, and Gurudeva would get up, and he'd put his ear next to the stone wall, brick wall, and he'd listen the whole time what Prabhupada was saying. And he'd listen to the whole thing. And then in 1991 he said, I still hear that dictaphone and I still hear Prabhupada speaking. He said, you're welcome to come down and listen, but I don't think you'll hear anything. But he said, you're welcome to come down early in the morning and listen with me. Because the real disciple, see, Gurudeva said, when the Guru leaves this world, right, he winds up his manifest pastimes. From that Nitya Dharma, he keeps an eye on this Sat Sishya. Well, who's Sat Sishya? Sat Sishya, there's Sat Guru, Sat Sishya. Sat Guru means topmost spiritual master, most perfect spiritual master. And the Sat Sishya is that very rare disciple. Very rare. Don't think, oh, I'm going to show that I'm Sat Sishya. This is something else.
Gurudeva said they're more rare than the Sadguru.
Yeah, they're more rare than Sadguru, Gurudeva said. So that's Sadsisha, it's very rare. He becomes Sadguru, he becomes the Acharya. Oh, don't say Acharya Guru, that's a rude word. We banned that word. We banned Acharya, His Divine Grace, and Srila. We banned that word. Why we banned that word? You banned those words because you have no understanding of the Siddhanta, and you have no understanding of the Sampradaya Pranali, and you have no understanding of the Sampradaya of the Gaudiyas and how the Sampradaya must go forward. So Gurudeva said he could hear it. And Gurudeva, we understand, was that Satsisha. And that's what many of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said that was still on the planet when they met Gurudeva, said, here is the Satsisha, the Sadguru of ISKCON. Here is the Satsisha. I remember in Orissa there's a I don't even know what the festival's called, but anyway, the grihastas invite people to their house to eat. And it's night. So we went to one devotee's house, and there was people everywhere, and we sat us in a room and they fed us. Myself, my wife, my daughter, and it was so much prasadam. It was like insane. So it was like 12:30 at night when we left. And we're crossing, and you had to, you know, cross from Naipali village over the highway, and you're at the temple. And there's Guru Maharaj's room, right? It's 12:30 at night. All the lights are on it. Everything's it's still going on, and there's people queued up to talk to him. This business people, disciples, a minister of parliament wants to talk to Guru. There's all these people lined up to talk, and then there's all the brahmacharis waiting for the Mahaprasad. Because Gurudeva would maybe eat at night. Sometimes. I remember I was there once. He said it's too late to eat, so I just went to all the disciples that were all waiting there. They all waited for his remnants. It was 12:30 at night. It's still going on. It's not as if Gurudeva was. And then one night I had another experience. One night I used to take, when I was Gurudeva's secretary, I used to take rest with the Dodi Kurta Tilakon, because Gurudeva might call me, and sure enough, at 11:30 at night there's a knock at the door. As a devotee, Jagat Padi said, Gurudeva needs you. So I get on the back of the bike and off we go, you know, at 11:30 at night, and I get there and it's just packed with people. Things going on there, and calls me in, and Nimai, and he starts telling me what I have to do, and he gives me the paperwork, and I get in and I run off and go and do it. That's 11:30 at night, Guru Maharaj. And as I said, when Gurudeva went to Vrindavan, the first time in 1974, and Ganadava Prabhu was there, and I did that interview with him, he said, it's as if he didn't eat, and it's as if he didn't sleep. I never saw him eat, I didn't see him sleep. Gurudeva just had this thing where he didn't need to eat or sleep. It's not normal, is it? So anyway, I'm getting a bit divergent here, but he finalised the building of the temple, and he installed the deity in the hut, in the Prabhupada's Bhajan Kutir, and very happy for him. He was very happy with that. Then in 1991, that same year, he began the first Ratha Yatra in Bhubaneswar. Were you there? You were there, right?
Yeah.
And that was enormous. And the next year was 92. We were all there, many Westerners. And we're having a kirtan. And I turned around, because three chariots, right? Now, Balaram, Subhadra, Jagannath. And I think we're in front of the Baladev's chariot. Turned around. And there's that road leading to CRP, which is, it's a long road. You couldn't see the road. You couldn't see anything. It was just an ocean of people. And it took place exactly the same time as it happened in Puri. Of course, you can't totally synchronise it because they're moving Jagannath, we're moving Jagannath like it, but basically the same time. And one year I was looking at it on the TV, they had it playing, Jagannath in Orissa, and I saw them moving Jagannath in Orissa, and I saw them out the window, I saw them moving Jagannath in Puri at the same time they were coming out. It was brilliant. Anyway, Guru Maharaj inaugurated, that's become the biggest Ratha Yatra in Orissa in India, but it's only second to, of course, Puri.
How long? How many days? 1 day or 2 days?
Say that again?
1 day or 2 days?
Well, it's Ratha Yatra, and then Jagannath stays for 7 days in the Gaudiya temple, which they had a big pandal, and then he goes back, return Ratha Yatra. So it was 8 days. It was exactly as they do it in Puri. Guru Maharaj did everything exactly as they did it in Puri, or exactly as the festival had to go. It was all done perfectly. So yeah, he started that Ratha Yatra in 1991, and he sent us pictures of the building the carts. He sent me a letter and said, Dear Nimai, Hare Krishna, here are some pictures of the Ratha Yatra cart at Jayanama's farm. Oh, wow. And as Guru Maharaj doing the Adi to the wood, Akshaya Tritiya is the day if you want to start something very auspicious, you do it on that day, and they start building the carts in Orissa on those days. So he started that Ratha Yatra, and that became very famous. And it was just, I looked behind me, and it was just an ocean of people. There was you couldn't see anything. You know how there's a lot of little shops on the side, they were gone. Well, they were there, but there was that many people, you couldn't see them. And the devotees were throwing prasad off the chariots, just like in Puri, and people just diving for it.
Oh, they were killing each other. I did it 2 years ago. Last year I did it.
But this was in Bhubaneswar, not Puri, right? They were diving for it. And I was a bit shocked because I thought, well, they'll all go to Puri, but they didn't. So many people. And we had 3 kirtan parties, one in front of Baladev, one about Baladev's chariot, Subhadra's chariot, Jagannath's chariot, and Gurudeva was on the chariot giving a talk. And he said, I just remember it. I don't think it was recorded, but he said, everyone that lives in Orissa is very fortunate, because Orissa is the land of Jagannath. And he says those persons that live in Puri, they're most fortunate, because that's where Jagannath is. And he says they are very fortunate to attend that Rath Yatra. But then he said those persons that live in a Puri and don't go to the Rath Yatra of Jagannath, very unfortunate. They are very unfortunate. So, number 82. Now this is a big one. I make a big thing about this, but it's not often someone comes and glorified Gurudeva. Very rare. Practically no one from ISKCON came. No offence, but no one came. I remember with Gurudeva one day, he said, yes, I thought he was coming, I thought that sannyas were coming. They're supposed to be my friends. I don't know. Then he'd smile and carry on riding, you know. Who cared about Orissa? Who cared about Orissa? It was the place where Mahaprabhu spent his 18 last years of his manifest pastimes on earth, and it's the land of Jagannath. And what did Gurudeva say in that lecture? And when Krishna finally got back to Braj, and he's speaking to Radharani, he says, myself, my brother and my sister, we will reside eternally in Sri Kshetra Jagannath Puri as 3 logs of wood floating in the ocean of Radha Bhav. And when I come as Mahaprabhu, I'll stay there for 18 years to swim in that ocean of Radha Bhav. And we're not going. And why did Prabhupada install a temple in Bhubaneswar? Why did he do it? Because that's the first place that Bhagavatam was spoken, according to Skanda Purana, on the earth planet. Gurudeva said, I got Gurudeva saying it so many lectures. It's the first place, and he said, Prabhupada did a brilliant thing, because when that temple was installed, the next day I walked up the stairs with Gurudeva. I was here, Gurudeva was there with the servant, Indra Bhatta was there. Gurudeva said, Prabhupada, he stopped and said, Prabhupada did a brilliant thing. He opened the temple at the gateway to the Puri Dham. And he says there's 22 steps leading to the temple. It's built exactly like the Puri temple. It's a smaller version of the Puri temple. He said, and who did he install there in Bhubaneswar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to speak the Bhagavatam every day in that place where the Bhagavatam was first spoken by Lord Shiva the Parvati? Who did he install there? Who did he send to the middle of nowhere? Gour Govinda Swami. He didn't send anyone else. And when he left, he poked his cane, drove his cane into the ground 3 times, Prabhupada, and said, I'll leave all my mercy here, I'll leave all my mercy here, I'll leave all my mercy here. Well, where did he leave it? In the sand, in the buildings that weren't there, in the forest. He left it with that lone sadhu, that lone warrior, His Divine Grace Gour Govinda Swami, who was then, there was no ISKCON in Orissa, and who developed that Orissa preaching? His Divine Grace Gour Govinda Swami. And not just that, but anyway, we'll get into that, more than that. So in 1991, the Rath Yatra was begun, but also in 1991, as I've mentioned in this booklet and in this book, and it is actually a very serious point. This book, in the Association of Pure Devotees, Satampa Sangamma Maviri Sambido Bhavanti Ritkana Rasayana Kata. This book came from that book, the glories of the 3 people outside of our Sampradaya that saw Gurudeva. The Acarya, the Brahmana Shubhi from Sri Rangam, the Acarya from Sri Rangam, the head of the Sri Vaisnava, Sri Lakshman Ramanuja Srila Acharya Dev, 1930 to 2012, no sticker brahmachari, psychic, mystic, etc., came up on the request of his disciple, Sri Badrinarayan Ramanuja Das, to verify if the disciple had seen it correctly. And that's what you do, isn't it? You go to the Guru and you Gurudeva, I've had this, I have this philosophical understanding. Can you please tell me, is it correct or is it incorrect? He went to his Gurudeva and said, I've seen the Maharaja in this Gour Govinda, is it correct or not? So the Acharya thought, if this is the Maharaja, we better go. That's why he came up. He didn't come up for any other reason. Didn't come to see me or Jagadish or Parabrahma or Tina Pandit or whatever his name is, that good Madanga player, the Orang Madanga player. He didn't come to see them. He came to see if his disciple had done it, had seen correctly. He'd come to see it, verify if it was correct. It's a very big thing. The Acharya from Sri Ranga, the Acharya of the Sri Sampradaya, he doesn't need to come to ISKCON Bhubaneswar, where he's going to get up and chant his rounds, or I mean, he doesn't need to come. No offence, he doesn't need to come. And there's many stories about this Acharya from Sri Ranga, and there's many stories about his guru, Sri Srinivas Ramanujajiya, who was another mystic, a real powerful personality. But anyway, we'll get divergent here. So anyway, the Acharya came up to verify what his disciple had seen. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, because we really need to get the picture of this, because, we have this idea no one will ever come, and I've explained that previously, but we don't accept that philosophy. And if there's a Maharaja, Gurudeva used to say, there may be a sadhu there, right? If you don't want to go, don't criticise, do this, and just keep walking, right? But he also used to say, if there's a sadhu there, run for sadhu sangha. So both are okay, but he never said criticise. He never said that. Right?
I heard today he said doubt and criticism are not bhakti at all.
Say that again?
Doubt and criticism.
Yeah, doubt and criticism
are
not bhakti at all. So he said, if you don't want to go, that's okay, do this, but don't criticise. Don't criticise. And don't associate with those who criticise. So I'm going to read it because it has a bit more effect. I can say it, but... So this is what he said in a nutshell. This is in a nutshell. Gour Govinda Swami indeed has the auspicious markings on his body of a Maharaja, which verified what his disciple Sri Badrinarayan Ramanujan Das had recognised many years earlier. The birthmarks on his body of Srila Gour Govinda Swami represent the different avatars, incarnations of the Lord, such as Varaha, Matsya, Kurma, etc. Then he went on to say, his Shakti Vaishnava avatar, a spiritually evolved personality, a Maharaja of the highest order. He also said such a person is very rarely seen on planet Earth. That's why he came up. That's why he came up, to verify this. See, we have to understand, and as I spoke last week about that devotee that sent a letter to Gurudeva saying, I've never read the Greed of the Lord in Prabhupada's books, what's this nonsense, blah, blah, and was basically attacking Gurudeva, and Gurudeva said, put the letter in the... I said, where shall I file it? He said, in the bin. I said, B for bin. He said, yes, and laughed. I put the letter in the bin. Now, if this fellow had written to Gurudeva and said, Maharaj, I've never read in Prabhupada's books where it says the greed of the Lord. Can you explain it to me? And Gurudeva would have sent him a letter explaining all the points. The guy was so obnoxious, he said, yeah, put the letter in the bin. And then he looked at me and Gurudeva said, like I said, Nimai, it's in the Vishnu Purana, it's in the Vishnu Purana. I mean, it's... So we have to be very careful, because the eighth obstacle, according to Sri Krishna Samhita of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the 8th chapter, but the 8th obstacle is Denakasura. And Denakasura, he can't get the tal fruit from the palm trees, right? The sweet tal fruit, but he won't let anyone else get it as well. Right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, he says, in the bona fide sampradayas, there are many bona fide acharyas, and they have presented many bona fide shastras. But if we have gross discrimination like Denakasura, we will not let anyone read those books. But if we have subtle discrimination, we will. Therefore, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, when he was asked, he said, I didn't say you can't read the books of the previous acharyas. I never said that. And there's so many references. Because this fellow did not have a proper understanding, a good fund of knowledge of the Siddhanta, not just of the Gaudiyas, of the Vaishnavas and the Brahmins, these Puranas, etc., committed a big offence to a Mahabhagavat. So you have to go to hell. You want to go to hell, that's great, but don't take me with you. Isn't it? We got enough problems. Don't take me to hell. So, that was the Acharya from Srirangam. We got a question here from Paramananda Puri.
The Acharya, he also wanted the association of Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj, because if he was a
he came 5 or 6 times to see Guru Maharaj.
It wasn't just to verify, it was also for association.
Say that again?
It wasn't just to verify, it was also...
Well, he thought if he's a Mahabhagavat, I'll stay. If he's not a Mahabhagavat, I'll pay Dandavats and go.
Yeah.
He stayed for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu gave him a room, and it had white sheets. And the Acharya from Srirangam said, should actually be saffron. And he said to Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, he said, sannyasi has 3 things that are white. Teeth, Brahman thread, and his heart. In other words, heart is pure. But everything else must be saffron. We're in that renown still, though. And he came up 5 or 6 times to see Gurudeva. And that first time he stayed 3 weeks. And he sat and listened to all the lectures. Who did that amongst Gurudeva? No offence. Amongst Gurudeva's godbrothers came and sat for 3 weeks and heard Gurudeva. Subhag Maharaj, Ram Vijay, and Jantakrit. Bas. No one else. Who came?
Bhagavat Maharaj? Bhagavat Maharaj and David Down? No.
Wasn't he?
No.
Was the Gaudiya around?
In India, Bhubaneswar. So, who came? So, Lagudi was there in the early days, but when things started to ramp up in Bhubaneswar, and all the Westerners were coming and it was starting to swell up, no one came. But hardly any came then either. So, the Acharya from Srirangam spent 3 weeks, and he came 5 or 6 times, and in 1992 sent a busload of sannyasis and brahmacharis up to see Gurudeva, and that lead sannyasi is now the Acharya of Srirangam. And the Acharya then sent him up to see Guru Maharaj, and he came up and said to me, where's Gour Govinda Swami? I said, he's in America. He went, oh. He's in America. And that sannyasi gave a class. And it was a very nice class. Are we running out of power here?
It's got 20% left.
So I'm going to try and get through this pretty quickly, but it's very hard. This is a quote from Chaudhry Jagannath Prasad. He was an official of the government of Orissa. I was greatly influenced by Srila Prabhupada and Gour Govinda Swami by their way of preaching. Gour Govinda Swami was most cultured man and was expert in the writing of Srila Prabhupada's books. And that's what they all thought in Orissa. The locals, they thought Guru Maharaj was a very cultured man, a Vaishnava. Right? He wasn't some Westerner Yahoo. You know. Number 84. He inaugurated the Padayatra in Orissa in 1992 and participated in it yearly. And that was a big thing, the Padayatra, Orissa Padayatra. And Gurudeva used to go every day. It was on it, and he would speak every night. And then he would get his disciples to get up, even the Madhijis, get up, say how you joined. And they'd have to get up and say how they joined. I went to the temple and say, you know. Now, in number 85, in Spain, 1992, amidst a massive, enduring drought, he made it rain by performing Gora Kirtan. If you go on, if you check the facts, there was a massive drought in Spain, 1991, 92, massive. And this is all on Google, actually. If you go on and Wikipedia, massive drought. And they use hydroelectricity there, so it's run by the water. They needed water, and there was no water, so there was no electricity. So when Gurudeva got to Spain, he got to the temple, there was no power, it was all candles, and Gurudeva said, what's going on? And they said, well, there's no electricity because we've got a major drought going on. Gurudeva said, oh. And Gurudeva said, Spain's a very simple place because they have created a sport where they kill the bull. The bull's considered the father of the father, and we kill the bull. You're killing the bull. It's a very simple place. So then, in the night, off in the distance, Gurudeva saw clouds, and in the clouds there was lightning. And Gurudeva said to the temple president, look, there's lightning in the clouds, look at that. And the TP said, yeah, it's been doing that for 6 months. And Gurudeva went, right. He said, anyway, tomorrow morning we'll have Gora Kirtan, and we'll make it rain. So the next morning, Gurudeva started the Kirtan, and after the 4th Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, it pummeled down. It poured for 4 days. he made it rain. Gurudeva is very powerful. He could do so many things, you know. He, actually, I'll backtrack a bit. There was one boy joined. He was almost crippled. And he joined the ashram. And he came every day to, I think they had to lift him to hear the class. Anyway, he heard the class every day. He didn't do anything else. Took prasad, heard the class, went to the kid, and after a while he got better just by Guru Maharaj's preaching. They didn't get any medicine or anything. Just hearing the Harikatha. So Guru Maharaj, and when a sadhu speaks, calms the heart, calms the mind, calms the intellect, calms the ego. You can't do that as a conditioned soul, no offence, we can't do that. We are conditioned souls. So, man, 86, he never criticised anyone, not even those that criticised him, nor those who were not his well-wishers. And there's plenty of those. Not outside of ISKCON, but inside mainly. No offence. He never purchased any luxurious items for himself. All the money he collected went to building the temple and printing his spiritual master's books, and that's what a disciple does. Pushes on the mission of the Guru. And he built the wonderful Lotus Temple in Bhubaneswar, dedicated to Srila Prabhupada for his centennial celebrations, 1995.